Shalom Aleichem. With the help of Hashem, we're going to learn the Maamer from Simchas Torah in the year Seif Dalet. We'll be learning the Maamer from the Rebbe line by line. The line that is being translated is highlighted in yellow. We'll do a basic translation with minimal commentary. And I will be putting the link for the Lahak website down below. Please leave any comments down below in the commentary. This is a Maamer that is Bilti Muga, which means that it was not checked over by the Rebbe. So the Maamer starts, Lehavin, Masiv, Haruach, ומוריד הגשם, to understand what is the whole concept that we say in the tefillah of Shmona Esrei, that we change, that we start to say, Mashiv, Haruach, ומוריד הגשם, that let the winds blow and the rains come down, Shemaschilin loymar b'Shmini Atzeres, that we begin to say this on Shmini Atzeres, on the last holiday of the end of Sukkot. K'de'isa b'Mishnah, it says in the Mishnah, from when do we start to mention the strengthening of the rain? From the last days of the Chag, of the end of Sukkot. We also need to understand why is it called Gevuros Geshamim, the strengthening of the rain. That the whole concept of the rain coming down is a good effect, which is a concept of chesed. So how could you say Gevuros Geshamim? How could you say that you have a concept of Gevura for rain, which is something that is chesed? Those are two opposite things. Seif Beis. We need to understand this by prefacing what is known, that the world was created by the measure of din, of severity, of judgment. After we see that the world was not able to be sustained with only din, Hashem partnered with the din a measure of rachamim, of compassion. Seemingly it doesn't make sense. That the measure of chesed, of kindness, is the source of all creations. How could a person even think that specifically the measure of judgment, of severity, which is a concept of gevura, of tzimtzum, of contraction, will be the source of all life? The concept is that because of the great distance between the creation and the Creator, that there's no comparison amongst them at all. You have to say that the effect of chesed, of kindness, from the Creator to His creations has to come through tzimtzum davka, has to come through a contraction specifically. Mitzat adin, because of the judgment, because of the holding back that Hashem has. By way of example, the effect of a teacher to his student. That it's not in the ability of the student to receive all the effect all at once. Because if he receives all of the teacher's understanding all at once, he will be completely confused. Therefore, the teacher needs to contract his effect, what he's giving over, and he needs to divide it into small and shorter portions. That through this contraction, the student is able to receive little by little, until he's able to receive the whole effect from the teacher. So too, the effect of the rain that needs to be given drop by drop specifically. Had it been that the rain that's in the clouds would descend all at once, then the water would completely flood the earth. And it wouldn't have the effect of being able to produce in the earth. Therefore, it had to be that the water that's within the clouds has to come in a way of simsum, of contraction, v'hischalkus, and division, in a way of drop by drop. V'davka az yirave es haaretz v'holida v'hatzmicha. And davka specifically, the way that that it's coming drop by drop, it allows the earth to be quenched and to be able to give birth and to grow vegetation. This whole concept of the way that the rain comes down onto the earth, drop by drop, is what's called givura shebechesed. This is a givura thing that Hashem is doing, but it's a chesed thing because it's coming from rain, which is chesed. Shashpas chesed b'ridas hamayim sheba'avim ba'a be'ofen shel tzimtzum v'hischalkus shu inyan ha'gevura. That the effect of kindness by the rain descending comes in a way of contraction and division, which is a concept of gevura. So Hashem is giving the rain in a chesed way, but He gives it in through a medium of gevura, meaning that He holds it back. That's called gevura shebechesed. You also have a concept of chesed that's within gevura. She'inyan ha'gevura, the whole concept of gevura, of holding back, which gevura would be a division and a contraction in regards to the one who's giving over, that is a concept of kindness in regards to the recipient. That this is the whole concept of gevuros, of contraction or restriction, that is memutakois, which is sweetened. An example for this could be of the cooking that can happen by cooking a radish in honey. That the radish is something that is mar, that is bitter, and the honey is something that is sweet. Therefore, these are two things that are opposite. However, when you cook the two of them together, they become joined together. So much so that the radish can now become sweetened. And the honey is not so sweet that the soul is going to be burnt by it. Ki'im mesikois shemaneges es alev. Rather, it becomes sweet that it can be enjoyed by the heart. Meaning, it's a honey that is not so sweet that it burns you, but it's a honey that can become enjoyed. All of this is because within devash, within honey itself, you also have a concept of gevura. Honey itself, which we just had in Rosh Hashanah, it also has a concept of gevuros, has a concept of severity. Which, if you have too much honey, it burns the heart because of its great sweetness. And in radishes itself, you also have a sweetness after you're able to cook it. Therefore, you join these two things together by cooking them together. However, if you compare the radish and the honey, which can each complement each other, fire and water cannot be joined together forever because they are completely opposite. In addition to the need for gevura, for contraction, to be davka through contraction and division, that makes the effect to be received by the mekablim, by the recipients. There's also a benefit of gevura over chesed. That by specifically through the gevura, through the severity, there can be a hashpa, there can be an effect in a better way, in a more abundant way. Inyan bdikas naka bria mechamima loiha machzive. And the proof for this is, as is brought in Chulin, in the Gemara in Chulin, that it says that when a person does a bedika nakav bria, that there's a check of a hole in a when a person is checking the lungs of an animal, of a bria, he's not allowed to check the lungs to see if it's going to be glat with chamima, with hot water. Specifically, when a person is checking to see if the animal's lungs have a hole in it, to make sure that it's glat, it has to be done with cold water. However, if it's done with hot water, we see that the that the animal's lungs can actually expand because of the hot water. That the heat is able to actually fill up the nekev, the hole that's there. That's the whole concept, that heat is represented by givura, is able to add and is able to increase and able to grow a certain thing. An example for this, that heat, meaning givura, is able to grow things, can be understood by the drop of a sperm. Inyan that the whole concept of the birth of a baby is when it comes out in a hot way. That only then, because of the heat, it's able to grow, so much so that it can become formed into a form of a vlad, of a baby. Like we explained and understand from another place of what it says, that it says that he grew his seed and he gave to him Yitzchak. That we know that between Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Yitzchak represents the concept of Gevurais. And you see by Avraham that he was able to get a concept of ribuy, of abundance, through Yitzchak, through his child Yitzchak, which is represented by the concept of Gevura. Even more than this, you have another benefit of Gevura itself. In addition to the fact that Gevura can be more hashpa, can give more of an effect, that's because of the effect that it has on the recipient, and also in regards to the abundance that it's able to give over itself. That's what Gevura can affect. In addition to that, the source of Gevura is actually higher than the source of Chesed, of kindness. Like we see by fire and water. That the nature of fire is to be removed and to depart upward to its source in what's called the Eish HaYesoidi, the essential, the foundational fire, the foundation of fire that is above. However, the nature of water is that it should descend and it should come down lamata, down davka, specifically down below. The cave in Shembemakor hadavar yesh yisra l'mayla l'gabi yiridasoy v'amshachas lamata, that since in its source the thing has a benefit over something that is descending, harimuvan shetev ha'eish gevura la'alois l'makeroi hu mipnei sheshorish ha'eish hu l'mayla meshorish hamayim chesed shetiv'am l'yirad l'mata. That the nature of fire, which is representative of gevura, is able to go up to its source. That's because the source of fire is higher than the source of water, which is representative of chesed, that its nature is to descend lamata, down below. So too we could understand above the benefit of gevuros more than that of chesed. Because they want to continuously leave from their vessel, from what's holding them back, hagbalasam, their limitations, ula'alois, and to go up and to be his kalal included in the or ein Seif Baruch Hu, in the infinite light of Hashem. From this it's understood that the effect that comes from Gevura is much higher. Seif GImmel. According to what we mentioned above, in regards to water and fire, it could be understood the difference between the written Torah versus the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah. That it's known that the Torah that is written is called Moisar Avicha, the Musar of your father. And Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah, is called the Torah of your mother. V'hainu, kemashal tipa sa'av sheba yeshnon kol mitzius havlad b'shleimusoi. That the example of the drop that comes from the father, the sperm that comes from the father, has in it all of the mitzius, all of the existence of the vlad, of the baby, in its complete way. Elash zehu rak b'koyach u'behelim. However, in that tipa, in that drop, this is only in a way of b'koyach, is in a potential way, u'behelim, and in a concealed way. V'loi ba lidei gilui adayin. However, it still hasn't come into a revealed way. V'davka yedei shayisa bebeten ha'em. Mem yoim azay naisei tzir havlad v'hagidul shaloi. Specifically, by being in the mother's stomach for 40 days, then there becomes a form of a vlad, of a baby, and its growth. So much so that then it can become born into an entity of its own. Much more is it important, much more is it something that is meshubach, something that is important than it was in a concealed way when it was only a tipa, when it was only a drop. We can understand this by the drop of ink on paper. Bekolmois is on the pen. That the letters that are written through the kolmois, through the pen, are included first in that one drop of ink that's within the pen. And this is not that it's coming out from its concealment in a revealed way. Specifically, in that drop of ink that's on the pen, can you reveal and can you understand a intellectual concept in transpositioning different letters together? What was not recognizable in that drop of ink that's on the pen, you cannot recognize it. So too in a simple voice that comes out from the heart, that included in that simple voice, that simple sound that comes out of the mouth, is concealed in all the specifics that can become revealed when they go through the 5 ways of pronouncing through the mouth. That the revelation that comes out is chesed, it's a kindness to the person who's going to be receiving it. Even though from the person who is giving it over for the mashpia, that's called a tzimtzum. He's now contracting himself. As we mentioned above, that this is the whole concept of gevura that's within chesed, meaning that the mashpia wants to be giving chesed, but in order for him to do it, he has to contract himself. So the chesed is that he's giving over, meaning either that drop of ink that's in the pen wants to be able to give over, or the drop of from the father wants to be able to create a birth, but it has to go through a gevura type of concept. So this whole concept you can also apply to the Torah. That in Torah Shbichsav, the written Torah, like the Chumash The whole Tanakh is like an example of the drop of a father that comes to make a birth of a baby that's only in potential and is very concealed in that drop of the baby, that drop of the father. That in the written Torah itself, you can't understand whatsoever how to create and how to make tzitzis and how to make tefillin. All the specific laws are included in potential and in a concealed way in the letters that are written within the Torah Shbichsav. However, the oral Torah, meaning the Mishnah, the Gemara, all the halachos that we learn, that is called the Torah of your mother. Shehi hamitzayeres hasura beprati pratiyos eich u'ma lasos. That the mother is the one that forms all the specifics of how and what to do. Bedugmat sir havlad v'hiskalusa yedei ha'em. Like the example of the form of the baby that becomes revealed in the mother. Now we can see the maila of Torah Shbal Peh, of the oral Torah, over Torah Shbichsav, over the written Torah. Because it's becoming the essential chesed to the one who's receiving it. In the same way as gevura that's within chesed, that through it davka specifically you're able to draw down the chesed to the one who is receiving it. Even more than this, the revelation of how to make tzitzis is the completion of the ratzon, of the desire that is above, in the chachma that is above, that was hidden in the letters in the written Torah. Ukmoy havlad shekasher yoytze la'avir ha'olam liyos metzius bifnei atzmai azai hu meshubach mikmoy shahaya behelim be'atipa. Just like the birth of a baby, that when it comes out into the earth, into the world, to become an entity of its own, then it becomes meshubach, it becomes important, it becomes something that is praised, just like it was, more than it was when it was concealed in the drop of the father. Al derech maila sagvura atzma mitzad shersha lamaila. According to the benefit of gevura itself, that comes because its source, the way it is above. So to summarize what we said in Seif GImmel, is that we're giving an example of why gevura is greater than chesed, and we use the example of Torah Shbichsav versus Torah Shbal Peh. That we're saying Torah Shbichsav is like chesed. Torah Shbal Peh is gevura. So even though Torah Shbal Peh is something that is much more limited, the only way we are able to really understand the Torah properly is by it becoming constricted and becoming written in a way that we are able to receive it. And the Rebbe gave an example of the simsum that happens when there's a drop from the father. That would be Torah Shbichsav, the written Torah. But the way we are able to get it out is by Torah Shbal Peh, is that it's in the mother for 40 days. That's how we're able to bring out the benefit of Torah Shbichsav through Torah Shbal Peh. Seif Dalet. According to this, we can understand the whole concept of the creation of the world, of why Hashem created it all with the measure of din, of judgment. That this is because of the great benefit of gevura over chesed, like we mentioned above. Mashiv, Haruach, ומוריד הגשם. That this is now the whole concept of what we started the Maamer with, which is the strengthening of the rain that begins to be mentioned on Shmini Atzeres when we say, in Shmoni Esrei, we say, Mashiv, Haruach, ומוריד הגשם. Dihine Shmini Atzeres hu ha'hemshech de Rosh Hashanah. The whole concept of Shmini Atzeres is that it's a continuation from Rosh Hashanah. Zeh hayom tichlas ma'asecha. about Rosh Hashanah, we say, today is the beginning of your creation. However, Rosh Hashanah is only the beginning of the effect. That's what we say in the tefillah of Rosh Hashanah. We say, Hayom haras ha'olam. Today is the birth of the world. Milashan harayon. That we're using it in a way of giving birth, pregnancy. Ushmini Atzeres shu inyan haklita. However, Shmini Atzeres, which is a concept of bringing things together, hu bedugmas gamma mitzius havlad beshlemus. This is likened to the completion of an entity of the vlad of the baby in its most complete way. Davka, specifically, that's when we mention the strengthening of the rain on Shmini Atzeres. Mashiv Haruach ומוריד הגשם. And that's why we say, let the winds blow and let the rain come down. Seif Hay. Amnam api hamavur agudel mailas gvurois legabi chasadim. According to what we mentioned on the greatness of gevura over chesed, tzarich lehavin mahu ha'inyan shitef imoy midas harachamim. So we need to understand, if gevura is so great, and Hashem created the world initially with just din, we need to understand what is the point of Hashem partnering with it, rachamim, mercy or kindness. Ha'inyan hu sha'af shegadla mailas ha'gevuros mitzad atzmam. Even though the greatness, the great maila of gevura by itself, mikom makam la'achrei kol ribuy hatzimsumim v'hischalkus shemsad gevura is nimshach mizah hatzimsum hagamor b'tachtis ha'olam ba'asiya shegoyvrim boy haklipos v'hamazikim. After all the abundant simsumim, all the contractions, and all the hischalkus, all the divisions that come from the gevuros, that draws down a tzimsum completely into the world of Asiya, into this lowly world, that is completely taken over by klipois and mazikim of dangers. Shem ritzua le'elaka. That these are something that is a ritzua, it's a binding, it's a strap for la'alka, for godliness. Klipa is what's holding back godliness. K'maishu binyan hazahav gevura, like the concept of gold, which gold is related to the midah of gevura, sha'af shegadla ma'alasu legabe kesef chesed, even though gold is much greater compared to silver. Silver is likened to chesed. Mikol makom yeshno sufsisa dehava. You have a certain benefit. You have it sufsifsa. The remainders of the hava would be gold. Dahainu hapsoile shel hazav shehu ra me'oid. That it says here that the remainders that happen from the gold that fall down is completely evil. Because of this, it's not possible that there be a creation of the world that comes from midah of din only, from the measurement of judgment only. Therefore, Hashem had to create from it. If we only had judgment, that would be completely raw. That's what would have happened if Hashem continued that. Therefore, Hashem had to partner together with the din. He had to partner with it rachamim, mercy as well. This is what the sages say. What the sages say, that in the future, when Mashiach is going to come, we're going to say about Yitzchak. The Yitzchak is representative of the whole midah of Gevura. We're going to say, Ki ata avinu. Yitzchak, you are our father. Not Avram Avinu. We're going to say, Ata avinu, Yitzchak, you are our father. Since in the future, it's going to be a time that the spirit of impurity has been removed from the earth, that then there will be a concept of the pesoilas, that there will not be a concept of any remainders that comes from Gevura, that then when Mashiach is going to come, it's going to be revealed the greatness of Gevura in its most complete way. Seif Vov. V'hine amru razal gadol yom hageshamim ki yom kibbutz galyos. That the sages say, great is the day of rain, like the day of the bringing in of the exiles. We need to understand what is the concept of gathering the exiles compared to rain. The concept is that the pasuk says that you will plant for tzedakah and you will grow according to your chesed. That you will reap according to your chesed. The whole concept of planting is the concept of gevura that's within chesed, just like the concept of rain. Just like the concept of planting wheat. That if you're going to plant all the wheat in one place, they're not going to grow. Therefore, the person needs to plant the wheat in a way of spreading them out. That you want to make sure that the land has, each part of that land is going to be covered with wheat by itself. That this is the whole concept of the galus, of the exile. Maamer Azal, staka asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Yisrael, shepizron lebein ha'umayis. That Hashem did a kindness for us. He did a tzedakah for us, for the Jews, that He spread them out amongst the non-Jews, amongst the nations. Shakavana b'zehi b'shvil bira hanitzitzois. That the whole intention of why Hashem spread us amongst all the non-Jews is for the concept of bira hanitzitzois, refining the sparks. V'hainu she'ein hakavana be'avedas ha'torah v'hatfila shebizman hagalus mitzad ha'torah v'hatfila atzma. That the whole intention of why Hashem created the world and the whole avodah of Torah and tefillah, of prayer in the times of galus, was not for the time. The whole purpose of us working in Torah tefillah in the times of galus is not for the sake of Torah and tefillah by themselves. Rather, it's that we should daven within a time of being pressed with our avodah in a way of chemer uvilvenim, of brick and mortar, in a way of shibud hatzaros, that we are completely pressed by our problems, that comes because of the time of galus. That then we'll have what to daven for. We'll have what there should be a concept of tefillah, of prayer for. That through this concept of us being in galus and having what to daven for, then what we are doing is through that we are able to refine the sparks that are from the world of tohu. Inyan zehu bedugma zriyas hachita shetirakev tchila va'achar kach tzmichas chitim chadashim. That this is the whole concept of planting wheat, that it becomes decomposed first in the earth, and only afterwards you get a birth, a tzmicha, a growing of chitim chadashim, new wheat. Hainu. Lo yirak ribuy hachitim. Not only are you having an abundance of wheat, ela tzmichas chitim chadashim, but you're having a growth of new wheat. So just like you mentioned in physical planting of wheat, so too we have in the planting of the Neshamas Yisrael, of the Jews, the souls of the Jews that are planted in the times of Galus. That the pressure and the koitzer ruach, the shortness of breath, that's in our shibud, of our imprisonment, by being in the times of galus, of exile, is likened to the rekava in hagarain, which is the decomposing of the seed that happens in the earth. And the whole avodah, the whole service of Hashem that we do through tefillah, through prayer, and through Torah, is likened to planting and reaping a new type of planting that happens after there has been a decomposition of the initial seed. And the whole concept of the reaping that happens after the planting is the whole concept of gathering in the exiles, which is a concept of elevating the sparks. That's the general idea, the general avodah, the general service that happens in this time of galus. This is what it says, that you will plant according to your chesed, lefi chesed, according to your chesed. Pi chesed hu bechinas gevura shebechesed. When we say according to your chesed, that's the concept of gevura, which is in the attribute of chesed. Just like the mouth has in it 5 ways of pronouncing, that through it will come out and we will reveal that which is concealed in the simple voice, like we mentioned, Kanal Seif GImmel. So too, like the breath that comes out from the mouth and gets separated from the breath that comes out from the heart. More specifically, we know that the peh, the mouth, is connected to the midah of malchus, the attribute of malchus, of kingship. Pirush hu b'yesoid. Upi hu b'yesoid. And the mouth itself is in the attribute of yesoid. Ki inyanoi shel pi hu hamshachas ha'osis mehakol ha'pashut. The whole concept of pi is my mouth, like we said before, lefi chesed, pi is that it's coming out from the mouth, is drawing down the letters from the simple voice that comes out from the mouth. Ve'inyano shel peh hay, hu la'achrei sha'oisus kvar nimshehu v'yoytze la'avir ha'olam. The fact that they come out from the mouth, once they come out, is after the letters have already drawn down and they've come out into the air of the earth. Since the whole concept of planting is that it's bringing something out from its source and its root, that's what it says, that you will plant according to your chesed. That it's going to be according to the chesed that is done. The Rebbe is saying that this is now including the left with the right. Meaning when a person is doing this concept of planting, he's able to include the left, which is gevura, together with the right, which is chesed. That's the way that we are able to do it. And that is what's happening in the times of galus, that Hashem has planted our souls in the times of galus here so that we are able to grow something that is greater than what is being planted itself. Seif Zayin. Yesh lo Seif. You can add Shekiv and Shekvar Nemra Bracha B'Nageh Legevros Geshamim. Since we already said the bracha in regards to growing or strengthening the rains, this was already said after they made the bracha on Shmini Atzeres. This was said on Simchas Torah the day after Shmini Atzeres. Harezeh al derech mashukasuv admar azaken be'egeres hatshuva. This could be according to what is said by the Alter Rebbe in Igeres HaTshuva, that he says le'inyan birchas slach lanu. He explains in Igeres HaTshuva in the bracha of slach lanu. When we ask Hashem every single day, 3 times a day in our Shemona Esrei, we say slach lanu, please forgive us. If we're asking Hashem, forgive us, and we know that you're not able to make a suffix bracha lahakel, you never are supposed to make a bracha if you're not sure, because of a chashash, because of a worry that you're going to make a bracha lavatala. Therefore, when we say slach lanu, Hashem for sure is going to forgive us. Hari im kain tzarich liyos she'ein kan shum suffix usfik sfeika ba'ilam. If so, we know that there's no doubt, and no doubt of a doubt in the world whatsoever, So too, when we make the bracha in regards to blessing the rain, that this is a clear idea, that is without any doubt whatsoever, that there's going to be a year that has the descent of the rain. The Kevin should go to Hageshem. Since the day, great is the day of counting the rain, like the day of bringing in the exiles, the Rebbe says, and is blessing us, that for sure there's going to be a year of kibbutz galuyos, of gathering in the exiles, that's going to come through our holy Mashiach, Bekarov Mamish, may it happen speedily, Mamish.